Hello, welcome to my first book review, I guess. I just finished reading Game Changer and I really liked it. I thought it was really cute. I I mean, obviously, I had just watched Heated Rivalry, and I said that in my Heated Rivalry video that I went out and bought the book because I wanted to read it and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. I thought it was fun. I wish that in the show we had gotten a bit more of Kip and Scott, but I also understand that like after reading it you couldn't have put this whole book into a show. Like it just there wasn't enough content there to turn into a show. But I think trying to shove that entire story just into one 50-minute episode was like not enough at the same time. Like I wish we had gotten like maybe 2 to 3 episodes of their relationship instead of one 50-minute episode and then like a short thing at the end of, was it episode 5, I think, is when they have the kiss after the playoffs. So I wish we had a little bit more, but I understand why they didn't do it. But I thought it was really cute. It was really funny. I enjoyed the story overall. I think that the two characters are fairly complex. Like there's a lot of, I wouldn't say there's miscommunication, but there's a lot of not communicating happening, and it's understandable on both ends. I found it frustrating, but it's a reasonable frustration where they're two very complex characters with two different types of insecurities, and it's like you feel bad for Scott because like you know why he can't come out, you know why he really doesn't want to, but you also really feel bad for Kip because Kip for the majority of this book is just so isolated and lonely, and I felt so sad and frustrated for him. And I was just like, my sweet baby boy just wants to tell his friends and family that he's in a very happy relationship and he can't. And he also just feels so insecure about his life and his experiences compared to his extremely successful boyfriends. And it felt sad and frustrating, but I also understand why Scott is so nervous to come out at the same time because, you know, if you put something that vulnerable out into the public, like of course there's gonna be backlash and that's gonna suck as all hell. So like I understand why Scott was so scared, but I just the culmination of the relationship was so cute. I've This review might be a little bit all over the place. It took me about 4 days to read this book. I read basically over half of it on a plane and then have been reading like 1 or 2 episodes every single day ever since then. So it was like really fast and then kind of slow, but I just found it really funny. It's not like the greatest written book in the world, but I honestly didn't think it would be. Like I know that it's essentially a fan fiction, and I mean I've read some immaculately well written fan fictions. This is sort of like a little bit in the middle. I found some of the descriptions a little stale in a way, but like I've definitely read worse fan fictions as well, so like I'll take it. I thought it was still cute. It's a great story. I think it's fun. I'm excited to see where the rest of the series goes, like cuz I know it's like Kip and Scott, and then Heated Rivalry is Shane and Ilya, and then I think there's a couple more books with like newer couples and other couples as well. I hope we can still get more Scott and Kip because I want to know more about like the rest of their journey, because this book, I think, I don't know anything about hockey, but like what I've gathered is that this book takes place over the span of like maybe 5 to 6 months or something like that. Like it's not a really long time, and so I want to see how their relationship grows over time from that, because it's a very new relationship, but it's also so gay coded in that fact that like you know, they meet in January and then I think it's like during, I think it's Valentine's Day is when Kip kind of like starts to move in with Scott, and then Kip is essentially living at Scott's penthouse for months after that, and then the playoffs, and then they like do their short little breakup, and then the playoffs occur, and they're living together just straight up after that. And so it's just like such a short relationship that's like accelerated super quickly, which is so gay coded in that fact. Like I know lesbians do it all the time, but I'm sure gay people do it as well, but which I found really funny. But it's like I want to see how it continues after that, like how Kip's doing in grad school and stuff like that. Like how's NYU, how's his confidence with his relationship, you know? How loose are the two of them together? Like how confident is Scott becoming more out in public with his boyfriend, and how Kip is becoming more confident with letting Scott pay for things. I will say with with Kip's birthday present from Scott, I like audibly gasped while reading that scene in the plane, because it's this insane present, but at the same time, if I were in Kip's shoes and I felt that insecure about making significantly less money than my boyfriend, I would have been fucking pissed as well. Like, getting $50,000 for your birthday is insane, but like I also understand that he's like, I don't want your money, I'm not a charity case. And I was like reading that scene and I was like, he's gonna be so fucking mad. And he was, it was crazy. And I think that's like really for his birthday was when the relationship started to strain and stuff like that, because Kip became more insecure about the money involved. And then Scott tried to make it up by like taking him out on a date, which ended badly because Scott was getting recognized at the, was it, they went to the Met or something like that, so Scott was getting recognized at the Met, and he got really insecure about that, and it just, the relationship strained after that, which like understandably so. But I was like, talk to each other, and then they did. I was like, at least they're like sort of trying to have these conversations. It's just like two forms of pent up frustration that it's like they needed the time to separate a little bit because Kip just felt so unbelievably isolated. But I'm glad that he still had family members and friends that he could talk to. Like, he was talking to Elena throughout all of this, or it's like the fact that Kip's dad knew that he was dating Scott Hunter was the funniest thing ever. He was like, yeah, your boyfriend, Scott Hunter, the hockey player. And he's like, how did you know? It's like, because you won't shut the fuck up every time you watch hockey. So I thought it was so funny in that sense. And like, I don't know. It was just such a fun book, and I'm excited to read the rest of the series. I think it's really cute and stuff like that. And I found this book super duper fun and enjoyable. I understand why people are really into these books and stuff like that. Like, I went out and I bought Heated Rivalry because I tried to get it from the library and there were like 41 holds on 10 copies. So I was like, fuck no, I'm just going to go and spend $15 on on this book instead, because I'm not waiting that long. No way in hell. So I thought that was so cool. I do hope that we get more of Scott and Kip, but it's been fun. I am very new to hockey and so I like didn't understand some of the terminology, or I'm actually watching the Olympics right now because it's February, and I was thinking about this because Scott always talks about how like he'll go out and he'll get recognized, and I'm like, I know that there is in fact a hockey team where I live, but I don't know a single player. Like where I live, our basketball team and our soccer teams are like the most famous sports teams, and I don't think I could be able to point out any players from those teams. That could just be the fact that like I'm not any type of like those sports fans. I'm a swimmer, so I'm a swimming fan more than anything else. But I just found it really funny that he just kept getting recognized everywhere, and I was just like, I don't think I'd be able to point out any sports players from my city if I found them in public. I don't know. Maybe that's just because I live in a much smaller city than than New York, but I just thought that was interesting that like everywhere Scott went, he would run into fans and stuff like that, and I thought it was really fun. I was like, is hockey that big of a deal on the East Coast? Probably. I'm not entirely sure. So it was just a random thought that I had while watching the Olympics yesterday. But I just, oh, this book was so cute, and I couldn't unsee the Stucky fic, especially when Scott was talking about his mom. I was like, I know exactly what's happening with that, but I found it so cute. I'm kind of glad that I ended up watching the show first though, because I think if I read the book with the Stucky fic in mind, I would imagine Scott, because he's supposed to like Scott looking like Captain America, and Kip looking like Bucky Barnes. Like, I wouldn't be able to distinguish that, but now that I've like watched the show, I'm like, okay, I can distinguish these other characters. But I thought it was really cute and stuff like that, and the way that their relationship progressed. And yeah, I hope I get more of them in other things. I loved the bit at the end in the epilogue with Ilya Rosanov. I love the fact because it reminds me of the show where when Shane goes to see his parents with Ilya and he's like, Mom, Dad, this is my boyfriend Ilya Rosanov. And his parents are like, we're fine if you're gay, but why do you have to be dating Ilya Rosanov? And I feel like it's the same thing here where Scott comes out as gay to like his friends and his coach, and all of them are like, please tell me it's not Ilya Rosanov. And I'm like, everybody is just not okay with any other hockey player dating Ilya Rosanov. And then Ilya shows up at the gay bar at the end and he's like, I'm just here to check this out. And I'm like, I think Ilya's just glad that somebody came out as gay so that he can be a little bit more of himself now. I just thought it was really, really funny, the like bits here and there of like just Ilya Rosanov and everyone being like, it better not be Ilya Rosanov that you're dating. He's like, no, it's not even a hockey player. It's a student who's going to grad school. But I thought it was really, really funny. I loved that. I did like some of the changes that they made in the show, but I felt like the pacing for it was a little bit more confusing, especially because of how it works, because at the end of episode 3 in the show, they've broken up, like they're on a break, they've broken up, and then all of a sudden in episode 5, Kip's back at watching the games, and there wasn't really any context with that, and I found that confusing to watch. And so I wish that they had put in a little bit more context about them having their break and then getting back together and actually having a conversation about, like, you know, Kip feeling isolated and alone, and Scott realizing that he does need to at least be a little bit more open about his love life to the public so that Kip can feel less alone. But instead it's a little bit confusing in the sense that, like, once episode 5 happens, it's like are Kip and Scott dating again? Are they no longer dating? Now they're kissing on an ice rink. So, like, who knows? I just found it a little bit confusing with that. So I wish they had put more context into that couple. Or, honestly, in a way, I wish that they had, like, honestly just spent a little bit more time with Scott and Kip. Like, if they're gonna add the Game Changer story into the show, like, you could not make this into a whole, like, 6-episode show. Like, there's just not enough content there. But I think if you had dedicated, like one full episode and maybe like half of another episode to their relationship, it would have made a little bit more sense with the ending of episode 5 and how, like, that relationship occurred and like how the whole kissing scene on the ice rink happened. And that's just like a frustration that I have with the show. I still think that the show is really, really good, and obviously people, like, I've been watching more TikToks about Heated Rivalry, and obviously everyone who was involved with it had a lot of fun with it and thought it was a really fun show to make. I was reading this and I was just like getting a little frustrated with the show in that sense, and I'm not someone who does a whole lot of comparing to adaptations. I'm like, an adaptation is just a fan fiction of the original source material. That's what I see adaptations of. But when it removes certain context that needs to exist in there, that's when I get a little bit frustrated. I'm like, I need the context of how they ended up back together. Like, the last time we saw them, they weren't a couple anymore, really, and now Kip and his dad are going to see Scott Hunter's games again. And it's like, is he just there to support Scott? Like, what's happening? And so I wish we had a little bit more of that in the show, but I'll take it. So I hope we see more of them in season 2 of Heated Rivalry. Yeah, overall, I really liked this book. It's, you know, it's cute. It's probably not my favorite book in the world, and it's not, like, the most immaculately written thing ever, but I liked it. I really like the cover. I've seen this style of cover for books lately, and I kind of go back and forth about liking it, but I like it for this. I think it's really cute. The style has gotten a lot more popular, and I don't know if I like it on the cover for every single book in the world right now, especially, like, adult fan fiction-y type. Like, I know I haven't read Love Hypothesis, but I do know that Hypothesis has a very similar style for their cover as well. But I like it for this. It's very much like Swagger Scott with like chill, bringing him a smoothie kip, and I do like that, and I think it's kind of cute. But yeah, I think those are all my thoughts on this book. I've never done a book review before. I've never like written a book review. I've never like talked about books in this sense before, so like I'm a little bit awkward right now. I will probably do a book review for Heated Rivalry as well, and then if I end up just purchasing or reading the entire series, I'll probably just continue with that. Like, don't expect a whole lot of book reviews though. I do read a lot, but it's for my entertainment and my entertainment only. So I don't want to like put it out into the world as much because I'm like, that's just a fun hobby that I do. And I also like to, watch movies and TV shows and stuff like that. And I'm willing to do reviews on those, but it takes me so much longer to read a book because I'm usually like, literally like reading while watching something with my parents in the background, or I'm like reading at work or something like that. So it's like there's a lot of background noise, so I'm not like fully processing what I'm reading. It's just a fun thing that I do on the side. But I would like to continue to talk about like Game Changer and the rest of those books and stuff like that because I think they're really cute. So yeah, like let me know if you read Game Changer, what you thought of it, how you liked it compared to Scott and Kip in the show and Heated Rivalry. Yeah, so stay tuned for whenever I get to reading Heated Rivalry. Who knows? But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Like, subscribe. Bye bye.